안녕하세요.
Good afternoon, everyone.
APCD 청년위원회
I am Seo
서준희입니다.
Jun-hee of the Gen
이번에
MZ
제가
Committee of the
APCD
APCD, a peace
위원장이
developer.
되어
As chair
청년위원회를
of the
소개하게
APCD,
되었습니다.
I am here to introduce to you
청년위원회 소개에
the
앞서 이름 APCD의
Gen
뜻을
MZ
먼저
Committee. And before that, I'd like to introduce to
하겠습니다.
you the
이름
acronym
역시
APCD.
청년위원회 이준엽 위원님이 만드셨는데
This was made by Mr. Lee
APCD
Jun-yeop, who's chair of the committee, and
따왔다고 합니다.
it came from the four English alphabet, A, B, C, D. B was omitted and replaced by P, and we came up with the name APCD. P represents PyeongChang and also peace, and peace developers. The committee was established for the first time in 2022 for the fourth PyeongChang Peace Forum, and it will examine the current status of this forum and also provide insight by offering future directions for this peace forum to move forward and grow in the future. We have 5 teams to cover 5 key agendas: the UN SDGs, peace, public diplomacy, economy, sports, DMZ, and peace zone. From December until February, we continued to meet frequently, and we did our best to prepare for this. And today, we will be sharing with you the results. This session is being held in a hybrid manner, both on and offline, so please be with us until the end. Good afternoon. I am Kuzong.
I am the vice chair of the APCD committee. I'd like to introduce the speakers. We have 5 different breakout sessions under our committee, and we have all agreed that all 5 sessions will present today. The first speaker will be from the sports session, Mr. Chang Jun-hwan.
Hello, I was head of the sports team. I am Chang Jun-han, and today I'd like to take this opportunity to say what an honor it is for me to share our thoughts on this, especially from the sports team, and also our gratitude to all of the organizers and staff. So let me now launch into the presentation. First, before we go into the discussion of sports and peace, we thought of what peace is to begin with. Now, it does not mean a passive peace where there is no war or physical violence, but is where we work towards looking for ways to do away with conflict and resolution. So it would be a more active or progressive type of peace. And after establishing this concept, we went into the variables and meanings. So we thought that there needs to be active effort to make this be realized, and also to solve the current and future issues. We need a future-oriented attitude. And the final characteristic is to make sure that there is a principle of relativeness. And so, bringing peace and sports together, we came to the thought that peace and sports went hand in hand up until now. Now, socially and politically, sports has played a very important role to achieve peace. In the Tokyo Olympics, the German team, both East and South, came as a joint team. And also, there was ping-pong diplomacy. So you can see how peace and sports have worked together. In 2008, we had the PyeongChang Olympic Games. which was one of peace, in which we were able to see the spirit of sportsmanship and peace on a world stage. If we expand this concept and also expand the values, we were able to host this PyeongChang Peace Forum, and in this forum, the legacy of sports and the Olympic spirit has been realized in many formats. First of all, as the first Youth MZ committee of this forum, we thought of how the youth perceive peace and this forum. And so what we did was we had a very short survey. And the results show that still, amongst our youth, there is a low recognition of the PyeongChang Peace Forum. That is to say that there is a low awareness. And when we think of what we have to do is, well, the first most important thing is to raise awareness amongst the youth and also work as ambassadors. And third is to have a continued interest in the issue of peace. And although it was quite difficult to find, we were able to reach this concept of peace. And so what we did was go into data to see how people perceive peace, and we realized that there is a lack of quantitative research regarding peace. You see these words like freedom or denuclearization or unification, doves. These are the words that come to people's minds when they think of peace. Like I said, peace is a relative concept, and so everyone has their different images. For Koreans, because we have a special situation where we are living in a divided country, words like unification or denuclearization are words that can come up. So, lastly, for us to all share this concept of peace and then spread it forward, how should we move forward in the next step? We thought of the two keywords, youth and peace. We need active discussion, and also we need to be able to reach a general consensus for us to move forward. We thought of some concrete measures, and we decided to think of peace within generations and also across generations. Like I said, we don't have a shared concept of what peace is itself. So we believe that this is a very important issue. So we need frequent peace discussions. And also, we need a peace forum focused on youth and MZ generation, kind of like a UN General Assembly, where we focus on that particular issue and go in depth. So we need more time like this. In 2024, because there is a PyeongChang Youth Olympics, I think that it would be good to have a peace mission corps to reach our purpose. Secondly, we thought it was important for us to find ways to bridge the differences between generations. So there could be a peace concert that is hosted, or we could have various sports events between various generations, and also debate sessions where various generations come together to debate these issues. So in essence, we need more fora for these issues to be opened up and for us to take part. This brings me to the last slide of my presentation. Once again, we think it's important for us to meet frequently and talk more. We won't have peace if there is no war or no conflict. That is to say that peace is a team sport, not an individual sport. So we all have to become one team to discuss about peace and also train together so that we can reach the goal of this so-called Peace Olympics so that we can win our gold medal for all of us. So that was the sports team's conclusion. With that, I would like to conclude the presentation of the sports team. Thank you.
And next, the DMZ Peace Zone team will present.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello.
연결이 안 됐어요.
I don't think the screen is connected to the projector.
안녕하세요. 평화로 바라본 DMZ.
Hello, I will be presenting the topic DMZ from the perspective of peace. The team members are Kim Kyung-min, Kim Ye-ji, Park Gyu-mi, Lee Jung-yeop, and myself, Seo-jun-hee.
저희 DMZ 팀은
The DMZ Peace Zone team
어떻게 하면 시민분들, 특히
looked at how we can have the citizens, especially the youths, to familiarize themselves with the DMZ and have a better understanding. The DMZ seems quite rigid and hard to approach. We wanted to make the concept more easily approachable.
좀 예술과 관련된 DMZ
And we decided to connect the DMZ with artistic performances and artwork.
처음으로 소개해드리고 싶은
First up, there is the musical performance called Wonder Ticket.
세계에서 유일한
To
비무장지대가
turn the only DMZ in the world into a place of peace and reconciliation, this performance features cutting-edge ICT to present a new form of the DMZ peace tourism content.
공연을 통해 한반도의 과거를 돌아보고
As a fresh attempt to look back on the history of the Korean Peninsula and convert the DMZ from a symbol of division and tension into a place of reconciliation, peace, and celebration, this performance was well reviewed.
두 번째로 공유드리고 싶었던
The
것은
second item is the Kangwon Province DMZ Museum in Kuzong.
저도 이번에 프로젝트를 준비하면서
While I
알게 된
worked on this
방법인데
project, I came to learn of this museum. And when you ever come to visit Kangwon Province, please visit the museum.
화면에 보이는
What you see on the screen
전시 중인
is the current ongoing planned and temporary exhibition on the Korean War.
선생님이
And particularly this exhibition focuses on Mr. Shim Jae-gi, who is the son of the late Shim Kyung-sop, who lost his life during the war. He made various attempts to let the world know about the truth of the war. The exhibition consists of Part 1, Tragedy of June 25th, Part 2, Finding the Truth of That Day, Part 3, Remembering the Civilian Victims, and Part 4, Shim Jae-gi, His Anguish and Agony. The list of the names of the civilian victims are included in many items on display. Next, there is the 2017 Cultural Regeneration Project of Camp Greaves inside the DMZ.
기억과 기다림입니다.
It is called the Memory and Waiting. Camp Greaves was used by the U.S. Army from 1953 to 2004 before the site was returned to Korea. Gyeonggi Province has turned the place into a hands-on facility of hands-on experience of history, culture, and arts that became a notable tourism destination at the DMZ for culture and arts. And lastly, there is the Ammunitions Warehouse Art Project. First, we had a media art project by artist Lee Seung-gun called Do Not Cross This Line. So virtual images are combined with reality to induce optical illusion with the artistic method of projection mapping.
그리고 마지막으로 소개해드릴
And
것은
lastly,
두 번째
the
미술 프로젝트인데
second installation arts project. During the 2018 DMZ Peace Platform event, this installation artwork One by artist Kim Myung-bum was unveiled in Korea for the first time and was particularly popular among the visitors. As if bringing life into this taxidermized deer, the dead leaves are attached to the horns all the way up to the ceiling of the warehouse, a place that was abandoned for years with the wounds of division, but is now recreated as a place of peace and hope.
저희 DMZ가 준비한 것을
The
조금이라도 여러분에게
DMZ Peace Zone team
DMZ 평화지대에
wanted
친숙하게
to
바라면서
introduce to you the DMZ as a place of culture and peace. Thank you.
Next, we will be moving on to the UN SDG team, which will be delivered by Mr. Kim Yong-dae. Hello, I'm Kim Yong-dae. I was head of the UN SDG team. So let's go into the presentation. Before launching into my presentation, I just wanted to point out the following contents. First, I will introduce you to our team and what we did. Second will be the results of a survey that we conducted, and this will be followed by some suggestions and conclusion. PBO represents Peace Building Organization, and it is a peace building group that works towards the UN SDGs. Now, the youth are the ones that will be able to work towards this, and so our voices are the most important in this effort. Because of this, we look towards other forums like the Jeju Forum or the Busan World Peace Forum. And these forums provided a venue for youth to voice their opinions, and we benchmarked them. So we looked into the various issues and venues that people are interested in, and we decided that we needed this kind of a venue or organization for us to do this. And to do this, what we did is conduct a survey with regards to the content. These are the results of this survey. With regards to the UN SDGs, we wanted to see how youth were interested, how much they were interested, and what they thought they could do to achieve these various goals. A total of 70 people took part. 92.8% were in their 20s. And there were also people in their teens and 30s, accounting for 7.2%. This is their level of awareness and level of interest. Did they know the UN SDGs? 63.8% said they knew and the others did not. Are you interested? About 26% said they are not interested, and 74% or so said that they had somewhat or they had a lot of interest. So these are the various issues. There are 6 categories of human rights and economy, education, economics, health, and partnership. They were most interested in environment, followed by human rights, education, economy, health, and partnership. We went into details and asked them what they were most interested in these subcategories. Within the health issues, they were interested in the imbalance of equity and pandemics. Economic-wise, they were interested in the creation of jobs. In the realm of education, they were focused on the polarization of education. And with regards to education, they were most interested in waste management issues, as well as climate refugees and also achieving net zero. In human rights, they were most interested in gender inequality, violence, and children's rights. And in partnerships, they were interested in diplomatic conflicts, as well as cultural preservation, as well as other such issues. Lastly, we asked them what they believe that they could do as youth to achieve the SDGs. They said that they needed a youth governance activities to enable active discussions as well as opportunities to take part in various activities. Lastly, these are some proposals.
주제를 다룬 여러 포럼들을 분석한 결과 자체 신앙 설문
By going through the various forums, we were able to come up with these following proposals.
첫째는 매년
First,
진행되고 있는 평창
each year,
유스피스 챌린지와
the
연계한
PyeongChang Youth Peace Challenge could be linked to this, and we could create a KUN SDGs.
유엔 공통 의제 보고서에 포함된 제안들을 어떻게
This will enable us to discuss what we could do to actually implement the various SDGs. However, the essays and the discussions are conducted in English. So I thought it would be good for YPC participants and non-participants to take part in a separate platform where they could discuss in the Korean language. Also, because of the pandemic situation, it would be good to have this on a metaverse so that we could have lots of people take part online. Second is to expand youth governance. We could join hands with the various university groups so that we can plan various activities. There are actually college groups that have regular such occasions with UN organizations. And we could provide lots of incentives to university groups that support these efforts and provide them with internships if they take interest. We could also have a youth SDG qualification project. So if youth and teens take part in this by giving them various proposals, they could be accredited, and this could be used as credits as they apply to college. And if we provide them with this opportunity, I'm sure that lots of students will take part. Third is to expand extracurricular activities such as contests. If we have regular contests, where people submit their ideas to achieve UN SDGs, this would be very good. And last but not least, is to have youth supporters to promote our activities. This will enable us to promote our activities online and raise awareness over the board. Now today, there is a lot of interest in the UN SDGs, but we still have a long way to go. I hope that our proposals can contribute at least a little bit to this goal, and I hope that our world becomes better and a more peaceful place. We will do our best to play our role. Thank you.
Next, the economy team. Mr. Oh Yoo-seok will be the presenter.
안녕하십니까.
Good day.
금강산 관광지가
I would like to present on the title Economic Values of a Reopened Mount Kumgang Tourism Program and How to Make It Happen. The team members include Choi Ji-hye, Park Ki-yeon, Seok Soo-min, and myself, Oh Yoo-seok.
우선 발표 흐름을 소개하겠습니다.
This is the order of contents. Look at the current state of Mount Kumgang tourism, followed by the program overview and economics, and ways to resume the tourism, and also how we can link the tourism to future transportation networks. To start with the overview, in 1998, through the sea routes, the tourism first began, and in 2003, the road was opened for tourism. And in 2008, unfortunately, there was an incident that halted the tourism altogether. And since the Pyongyang Joint Declaration was declared in 2018, there was an intent to normalize the Kangwon tourism. But recently, the DPRK has expressed its intent to solely develop Mount Kumgang. As for the economics of the Kumgang mountain tourism, this can be an inter-Korean cooperative project that builds trust between the two Koreas and seek mutual co-development. And for Kangwon province, the local income will be boosted, tourism economy can be revitalized, and regional development as well as becoming a center of tourism industry and unification trade are all possibilities presented by a resumption of the Mount Kumgang tourism.
수치에 대해서는 지금 PPT
As for numbers, please refer to the PowerPoint slide.
물가가 이제 국가 전체적으로나
the
경제적으로 그리고 이제
Mount Kumgang tourism may lead to huge amounts of production, value-added creation, job creation, and also enormous amount of inbound tourism.
그 금강산 관광이 재개되려면
For this to happen, first of all, the UN Security Council sanctions on the DPRK must be resolved. We have listed up the different sanctions applied to the DPRK chronologically. First of all, to repair the tourist facilities and build infrastructure in Mount Kumgang, we need to request an exception to the UNSC resolution to allow the initiation of a joint investment with North Korea. And there are always the concerns that the cash that flow into the DPRK may be used for other purposes such as nuclear weapons development, and the two Koreas need to reach an agreement on a preventive mechanism. And both for the Kaesong Industrial Complex and the Mount Kumgang tourism, we can think of paying in kind instead of monetary terms. And also, we need to pursue an amendment or abolishment of the resolution 2397. China, Russia, Japan, US, and other countries and companies from these countries need to form a multilateral consortium project to secure project continuity, ensure safety of the personnel, and promote cooperation among the Korean Peninsula stakeholders. And of course, the U.S. has its own sanctions applied to the DPRK, and we need to induce cooperation with stakeholders and international community, which would be key to resolve the sanctions by the U.S. And as I said at the outset, the current status of Mount Kumgang tourism is as follows. In April 2011, the DPRK established the Mount Kumgang tourist region. And in the Moon Jae-in government, the Moon Jae-in government presented some ideas for developing the EC Special Tourism Zone. This can be a possibility to resume the Mount Kumgang project, tourism. The peace tourism routes from Wonsan Najin and Seonbong Mount Baekdu is another possibility. And to expand to the Mount Kumgang region, and we can also develop Tongcheon Hot Springs into a center of MICE and wellness tourism. And as you know, North Korea is rich in natural resources, and near Kumgang Mountain, in the Dancheon region, it is has a huge reserve of natural resources. So, and since there is a port very near to the Dancheon region, we can develop it as a trade port. There is the Kumgang Mountain in the north and Seorak Mountain in the south, which are within an hour's drive. And we can expand the Mount Kumgang tourism and jointly develop with South Korea in the Seorak Mountain region, which can lay a foundation for unification. And this inter-Korean exchange and cooperation can lay the foundation for peaceful unification. And also, we can operate and manage tourism resources very efficiently under a comprehensive plan. We can also promote Kangwon tourism to attract inbound and domestic tourism and bolster competitiveness. And for North Korea will have more foreign exchange earnings. And for South Korea, we can develop inter-Korean tourism and reinforce our competitiveness globally. And for the future transportation network, first of all, let's look at the economics of inter-Korean railroad. We can reduce transportation costs down to a third, and traffic network facilitates business entry if we can connect inter-Korean railroad. The human resources of the south can meet the resources in the north. And we can also bolster the construction companies and enhance infrastructure in the north. The South Korean human resources and North Korean natural resources can meet, and we have better accessibility of tourism resources on the peninsula. We can also elevate the national image. And please refer to these tables for the economics of an inter-Korean railroad, which states the outlook on inter-Korean people-to-people exchanges and the amount of production from 2031 to 2040. And look far out into the future, a hyperloop. If you remember the Iron Man, the movie, which is modeled after Elon Musk is envisioning what he calls a hyperloop. If this becomes a reality, Seoul and Busan will be connected by an hour. An Asian highway is a connection of highways of different Asian nations, and if the highways of North and South Korea can be connected, this will facilitate logistics and material exchanges and lead to much greater exchanges. And Asia Rail Pass is a concept modeled after the U-Rail train pass. If inter-Korean relations improve and Asian countries can cooperate well, then it is possible for Asia to connect the railroads in different nations, which will also facilitate exchanges. That is the end of my presentation for the economy team.
Yes, thank you. Last but not least, we will be hearing from leader Kim Soo-min of the public diplomacy team. Hello, I'm here to represent team number 2, the Peace Public Diplomacy team. I'm Kim Soo-min. Yes, our team will be delivering a presentation on peace, public diplomacy, and metaverse. So this is the contents. So first, we wanted to look back and do a review of the public diplomacy strategies on peace. And first, what is public diplomacy? Is it different from private sector diplomacy? When we talk of public diplomacy, it is something that can be compared with traditional diplomacy, because traditional diplomacy is when governments and public officials meet together for diplomatic activities. But public diplomacy is when people and people meet together. And it is becoming much more popular because of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And it is a method in which we go to the international public first and provide a positive image of ourselves. And we add hard power with cultural soft power, and it strives to bring these two together to achieve what we call a smart power. So this is what public diplomacy is. And I'm sure that you can all expect that the importance of public diplomacy will become greater. Plus, we have the pandemic right now, and we are moving more online. And so we need to prepare for a new facet of public diplomacy. So this is what the various agencies have done with regards to do this. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs opened a MOFA studio where digital contents are being uploaded. About 1,500 digital contents have been made and uploaded. So it has more than 24,000 subscribers. It provides very accurate information on our culture, such as kimchi and so forth. We also have various celebrations with other countries. With Russia and other such countries, we had cultural years that were allocated in which we had activities to spread the mutual understanding of other cultures. And the Ministry of Culture and Sports and Tourism did these kinds of activities online. And the Kangwon province also have a Kangwon Live that has been opened, which has opened up a channel for online activities. And they have a 3D virtual metaverse through which they had the 9th online GTI International Trade and Investment Festival, which was held very successfully. So we see how these various public offices have already done this online. We need, therefore, to strengthen our goals towards public diplomacy, but we can see that there has been a lack of interlink between these agencies, and they worked in silos. So what we need to do is we also need to look into what is in the pipeline for these agencies. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that they would be more active by using K-culture and soft culture, and they will also have customized contents that are customized to various regions and countries as well. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism said that they will work towards the spread of traditional Korean culture through our Korean academies overseas. And the Kangwon province will also have friendly cooperative projects with various areas abroad to build trust and to work on these platforms. Also, using the cultural and tourism assets that Kangwon-do has, it will host various international events to enhance the brand image of Kangwon-do on the world stage. And this kind of effort will be continued in the future, but there is one thing that we need to underscore. That is the fact that the metaverse that is being used is often being used as a one-event thing and is not being used efficiently. What do we need to do? How can we use this in a more sustainable manner? What we need to do, first of all, is before we create a metaverse, we need to first consider whether the metaverse is right as a platform for this particular project so that we can be more effective. If you find that there is a fit, then you need to look into how you can make this more sustainable. Let's say that you have decided that the metaverse does work for you, and let's say that you have selected Kangwon-do for you. We could have a peace forum or various other international events can be used. Then you would perhaps need the Olympic game stadiums as well as various cultural assets and relics to be replicated. And through this, you would want to make people want to come to Kangwon-do once they went to this metaverse. So these are all proposals for us to make these metaverse a lot more versatile. So you could have the DMZ Peace Zone, or you could have a PyeongChang Peace Youth Academy. So various nationalities will come, and there could be an on and offline curriculum, and the youth could come to not only be able to meet with lots of contents, but also expand peace public diplomacy. This could be followed up by our second council, and with that, we'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you for your attention.
안녕하십니까.
Hello,
특급 콘서트 진행을 맡은
I am
포럼 청년연의 오유석 부위원장입니다.
Oh Yoo-seok, Vice Chair of the
이번에
APCD
청년연의
committee,
사전 질문을
and I am the moderator of this
인스타나
talk
SNS에
concert.
올렸는데요.
We
꽤 많은
received
분들이 질문을
questions
올려주셨습니다.
prior to the event through
그래서 이제 그
Instagram and
질문을
other
선정해서
channels,
답변을
and
드리려고
we have
하는데요.
received a number of questions which
일단은
I will be choosing
공통적인
from
질문을 먼저
to ask our panel. So let me start with a common question to all of
청년위원회 임기에
you.
대해서 질문하셨는데요.
There's a question about the term of office of the youth committee. This is the very first committee, which began in December and ends at the end of March. So that's a firm 4-month period. And then the next session of the committee will be determined at a later time. And projects that you want to recommend, and what are the pros and cons? As a social channel, promote PR and street campaigns. there are debates and group activities that can be formed. And the pro is that, and if you have any great suggestions, we are welcome to your recommendations. And as for the role of this committee, there is the economy, sports, DMZ, peace zone, UN SDGs, and peace, public diplomacy, the 5 key thematic areas of the PyeongChang Peace Forum. We have divided our committee into these 5 teams and did our research, and we engage in discussions to look at ways we can contribute to the further development of the PyeongChang Peace Forum. The upside of the PyeongChang Peace Forum is that the offline participation is possible, and you can meet with different speakers to be inspired by their speech, and also find ways for the forum to further develop. And in that process, we can collect the views of youths. As for the eligibility of being a part of this committee, anyone interested in peace between the age of 19 and 39 can join the committee. And not only Koreans, but we also have a member from Pakistan. So we are open to receiving non-Korean members. The committee belongs to the 2018 PyeongChang Legacy Foundation. So that's it for the common questions, and to go on to the 5 main questions, I would like to designate the panel to take those questions. Many questions were about intergenerational issues. So please welcome these questions and answers. The first question goes to Ms. Choi Ji-hye. What is the concept of peace in the minds of the youth, and what role can youth play for peace? So do we have Ms. Choi online? Can you hear me?
네, 들립니다.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead and answer this question. Hello, I am from the economy team. My name is Choi Ji-hye. Let me take the question. I think that when it comes to peace, youths must have a consistent interest. And we cannot build peace by the efforts of a single generation. And therefore, in order to bring about peace, what are some of the things that youths can do right away? We can use different media to understand what is going on in the global affairs. That would be number 1. Thank you. Thank you for that answer.
Next, I'd like to give a question to Kim Soo-min. Now, the youth of today, are they interested in North Korea unification? And if not, how can we make them more interested? Yes, allow me to answer. We have not conducted a survey, but if I meet with teens or those in their 20s and ask them about the North Korean issue and unification, I think the most common answer I receive is that they are indifferent. They think that it's not something that directly impacts them. Although I'm sure that our audience here, both on and offline, are here because you are interested in the issue. But overall, they are focused more on their everyday lives, finding a job and studies. And so unification seems like a far-off issue. And we have heard about songs where people speak of the aspiration towards unification, but I think that that is not the sentiment that we have. So if you want to approach youth with peace and unification, you have to also explain how that will help you out, how it is in your interest as well. For instance, Mr. Jim Rogers, who is the joint chair, I think he is, of the joint chair of our committee, he spoke as at the keynote of the importance of unification and how it will help our investment value. Also, you could speak about how Kangwon tourism could help us economically. And as was mentioned earlier in one of the questions,
남북 통일과 평화에 대해서
If the youth want to become more interested in youth and unification, I think that we need to approach it in this kind of a way.
예, 좋은 답변 감사하고요.
Thank you again for the
이
good
질문을
answer.
봤을 때
And judging from the
전체적인
two
분위기를
questions,
반영한
I think these
질문으로
questions
보이고요.
reflect
예,
the
또
current
어려운
times.
시기지만 또 청년들에게
We are
또
in tough
희망이
times,
또
but
도래하길 바라는
I
마음으로
hope that
그
the
다음
youths of
질문은
today
이제
will soon
장준환
find
위원님이
hope.
이제 답변해
Next
주실
up
텐데
is Mr. Chang Jun-hwan.
중장년 세대에서 청년위원회가 바라는 평화를 위해 해주었으면 하는 일이 있을까요?
What do you
라는
want the
질문을
older
답변해
generation to
주시겠습니다.
do for the peace of the youth?
아, 네. 질문 주셨을 때 일단은 조금 더 구체적이어 했었으면
This
좋지
question,
않을까라는
when I
생각을
received this
했습니다.
question, I
발표한
really
바와
hoped
같이
that
평화라는
we
정의
had more
자체를
specificity to the
내리는 게
question.
협정만
Of course,
나오더라고요.
the
그래서 이걸
definition of
명확하게
peace is
개념
different for each scholar.
정리하는 것이 어렵기
So
때문에
I guess
결국에는
it's
저희가
quite
발표한
difficult
내용들만 봐도
to
다섯 가지 분야에서
have a clear-cut
원하는 부분들이
definition of
다
peace. And of
다양하고
course, we have
다르잖아요.
5 different
그러니까
teams, and
결국에는
we
그
want
원하는
different
게
things in each of the
평화를
5 teams.
어떤 평화를 원하는지
So what kind of
알아야
peace
될
do
것
you
같고,
want?
그러면
We
우리가
need to
정확하게
understand what kind of peace
청년들이
we need to
공감하는
build,
평화라는 게 뭔지도
and
알아야 될
also
것
what
같고,
peace
그리고
that
나서
youths all
중장년층이
together
생각하는
want,
평화도
what we
무엇인지
can agree on as a
알아야지
concept of peace, and
그걸로
what the
저희가
concept of
어떤
peace in the minds of
평화를
older
위해서
generation is.
중장년
We need to
다른
have a
세대들에게
clearer
요구할 때
idea of all this
맞지
for us
않을까라고
to
생각을 했습니다.
work
그래서 저는
towards
조금
peace
더 그냥
together with the older
포괄적으로
generation. So
제가
on a more comprehensive note, in general, in order to achieve peace, my generation can ask for a few things to happen.
아직까지 청년 세대는 배우거나
The
일을
younger
시작하는
generation
아이들이
is
다들
just
많다고
starting their
생각을 합니다.
careers or
그에
still
반해서
learning to.
이제 중장년층에 계신 분들께서는
But on the other hand, the older generation are really the decision makers. So you have more experience, more knowledge, and based on that, you need to lead us well and also provide us with more opportunity to talk about peace.
청년들이 목소리를 낼 수 있는 게 결국에는 이런 평화 포럼 같이
It is at peace forums such as this, and venues such as this, for us youths to have an opportunity to speak up about the peace on our minds. And please consider youths to be different, not wrong. So these are the two things I want to ask for.
Yes, thank you for that good response. I'd like to move on to question number 4. And I think Mr. Kim Yong-dae will be able to respond. There is probably a change, a difference in the perception towards peace between the different generations. How can we reach a common ground? Yes, well, in the past, I met with a lot of activists working towards peace, and what they all asked me was, how can we encourage youth to take part in peace activities? And I gave it some thought. And I think it's very important to have various education programs or activities that are customized to us. We have these kinds of venues right now, but we need more. We need more programs that provide us with a forum to voice our opinions and also to learn. And this will help in closing the gap between generations and also leading to new dialogue in the future. Yes, thank you. When I look on questions 3 and 4, I think that the common denominator is this. There are various perspectives which should be tolerated. And also, this doesn't apply only to peace because there are perception gaps in all issues, and the key point is how can we close that gap. The current youth will become older, and then there will be a newer generation coming in. So it's a situation where history will repeat itself. But we could at least try to move forward and work towards a greater peace. And I think that there is a common denominator in that there is a peace for all and that there is a common good for all also. So that's my belief, and I hope that we will be able to point to a future direction.
Last question.
질문 하기 전에 마무리 이제 멘트를 좀 할게요.
But before I give you the last question, let me give you my concluding
다들 이제
remarks.
어렵고 이제
So
힘든
we
시기에
are in the middle of a
오셔가지고
pandemic. Thank you for coming despite
환영드리고요.
this difficult times,
그다음에 이제
and
이
welcome.
코로나 시국의 평화에 대해서 또 다시금 또 생각하게는 계기가 있잖아요. 또 국제적인
We have an
정세나
opportunity
여러 가지 또
to rethink the concept of
민생
peace in
같은
these
민생
difficult
문제들도
times of the
평화
pandemic and
문제가
the
연계가
geopolitical
되는
situation
부분이거든요. 그런
and
부분에
our
있어서
ordinary
참
lives.
많은 또 논의도 필요할 것이고
So
생각이 많이 되는
we need to
부분인데요.
think further and we
그래서
need
이번
to
질문은
discuss more.
좀
So the final
좀
question
청년에 특화되면서 좀
is
시국을
specifically
반영할 수
to the
있는
younger
질문인 것
generation,
같아요.
and it also reflects the
우리
recent
위원장님이
events.
답변을 해주실 거고요.
I'd like to ask
질문은
the
일단은 이제
chairman
코로나
of
시국에
the
평화의
Generation MZ
청년과
committee.
사회가 가져야 할
So in this
마음가짐은 어떤
pandemic,
것이
what is the
있을까요?
right mindset for the youth to
예전의
have?
평화
And
통일
compared to
관심이
the
적어진
past, there
상황에서
is less interest in
ABCD 우리
peaceful
청년회가 할수
unification.
있는 일은 무엇이
And against this
있을까요라는
backdrop,
질문에
what can
답변을
the
해주시죠.
APCD do?
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello,
서준희입니다.
again, I am Seo Jun-hee.
저는 조금 개인적인 제 생각을
I
나누고
would
싶어요.
like to share my own
이야기하고자
personal
합니다.
thoughts.
저는 국제 정치를 공부하고
I study
통일과
international
평화에 관심이
politics.
많은
I'm interested
청년으로서
in peace
평소에
and
청년들이
unification.
조금
And
통일이나 평화에 관심을 가지지 않는 것이 아쉬웠어요.
I wish
하지만
for
그러한
young
이유에는
people will
청년들이
be more
그만큼
interested in peace and
학업이나
unification. But
여러
I
가지
also
어려움에
understand that
직면하고
this
있기
is
때문이라고
because of
생각을
difficult
하는데
realities of having to
그래도
find
우리가 살고
jobs
있는
and to
한국
study.
그리고 우리가
But
앞으로
we live in
살아갈
this country, Republic
분단국이라는
of
것을
Korea.
인정하고
We need
받아들이지
to accept the fact that
않는다면 우리의
this
미래가
nation is
어떻게
divided.
될지 조금 걱정이 되긴
Um,
해요.
Otherwise,
그래서
I would be quite
개인적으로
concerned of
생각했을
the future of this younger
우리가 살고 있는
generation.
한국이
So personally,
아직도
in this nation
분단된
of Korea that we live
한국이자
in,
한반도인 걸 체감하는
and
순간들이
this Korean
있는데요.
peninsula is
특히
still
가장 큰
divided.
부분은 제가 느꼈을 때
The
군대와 관련된 부분이
biggest
있다고
moment I
생각합니다.
keenly sense this
또
division
북한의 핵
is
미사일이나
any
북한의
matters,
인권,
any time I
이
think of the
이슈를
matters
뉴스에서 볼
about the
때
Korean
특히
military
그렇고요.
and also about the human rights
그리고
situation of the
생각보다
DPRK.
우리가 모르는 사이에
And
이미 분단
without
국가이기 때문에
us
한국
realizing
사회에
it, because
자연스럽게
Korea
스며든
is
문화들,
a divided
예를
nation,
들면
there are
군대
some
문화가
naturally
사회화되는
permeated
부분이나
cultures such
위계
as the
질서,
spread
저는
of the
개인적으로
military
그런
culture, the
부분들이
hierarchy,
우리가
order
분단되었기
of hierarchy.
때문에
And
더
I
강하게
think that the
작용된다고
root cause of
생각합니다.
this is because Korea is
만약
divided.
한반도가 한국이
If the Korean
분단되지
peninsula
않았다면
and this
한국은
nation
어땠을지
was
저는
not
가끔
divided,
상상을
I
합니다.
wonder what
어제
kind
짐
of
로저스
country we
회장님의
would be
강연
living in.
들으면서 많이
Listening to the
공감했던
lecture
부분이
of Mr. Jim
있었는데요.
Rogers yesterday,
저도 비슷한 의견을
I
가지고 있어서
empathized with a number of
반가웠습니다.
points, and I
지금
welcomed
한국이 사용하고 있는 국방비는
his emphasis.
엄청
Korea
크고
spends a huge sum of
세계
money in
선진국에서도 많이
national defense,
비슷하다고 생각을 하는데요.
comparable to
그런데 이런
other advanced
국방비가
nations. And this
예산이
defense
부족하거나
spending,
더 어려운 분들을 위해서 복지나
when there is a
더
lack of
필요한
budget,
곳으로 예산이
and
쓰였을 것 같아요.
this large sum of
그리고
defense
우리가
spending
지금
could
직면하고
actually
있는
otherwise be
경제적인
used
일자리,
for welfare to help
결혼,
out the vulnerable
출산,
group.
주거,
And when you
인구
think
문제
of the
등
housing
복합적으로 분단이라는
population,
현실과
giving
연결되었다고
childbirth or
생각합니다.
marriage or
그래서 결국
jobs, this all
우리의 삶
links
속에서
to the
평화를
division of
찾아보고
this country.
생각해보는 시간이
And I think that we
있으면
need to
좋을
take
것
the time in our
같아요.
daily lives to think about peace
앞에서
and
말씀하셨듯이
unification.
평화라는
And
말이
as mentioned
되게
earlier, the
추상적이고
word
눈에
peace
보이지
is
않아서
vague and
어려워 보일 수
abstract and
있지만
is
저
not tangible.
개인적으로는
But
제가
personally,
생각하는
for me,
평화는 조금
peace
일상생활이
is where
안전하고
we have
내가
a
나을 수
safe
있는 사회가
daily
되는 것이
life
평화라고 생각을 하거든요.
and a place where I can
그래서
grow
나와 다른
and be
사람을
better.
받아들이고
So accepting
이해해보려는
those who
열린
are
사고가
different from
있다면
myself,
조금 더
and if you
한국이
have an
우리
open
사회가
mindset
조금 평화로운
to
사회가 되지 않을까
tolerate the
생각해봅니다.
differences, I think that we can be a
통일이 되면
more
어떨까
peaceful society.
상상해보기도 하는데요.
And I sometimes imagine
통일이
what it would be
된다면
like to be unified with
섬이
North
아니라
Korea.
육지로든 어디든 갈 수 있고
Then we can reach other
오늘
places
발표한
on
것처럼
the road.
금강산과 더불어 경제적인 측면과 문화 관광적인
We will
측면에서 얼마나
have
지금과
tourism
다를지
regions such as Mount
조금
Kangwon
이상적일
as
수
presented
있지만
today.
많은 전문가들도
This may all
그러한
sound too
의견을
idealistic, but
제시하고
experts
연구하고
also
사업을
look into
진행하는 것으로 알고
these
있습니다.
topics and pursue projects
오늘
and
저희
businesses.
평창 평양 평화 포럼도 그렇지만
So,
저희 청년과 평화
Peace,
세션에
the PyeongChang
참여해주신
Peace
분들이라면
Forum, and
평화에 관심이
everyone
있으신 분이라고
participating in
생각을
this session,
하는데요.
I'm sure that you're interested
한번
in
자신의
peace.
삶 속에서
So
나에게
I
평화란
suggest that
무엇이고
we look back onto our lives
내가
and think
평화를
of
위해
what
무엇을
peace
할 수
means to
있는지
each of us and
한번
what we can
생각해보고
do for
고민해보고
peace,
할 수 있는 게 무엇인가 조금
and wonder what
실천해볼 수
we can
있는
do
그런 기회가
and
되었으면
act on
하는
right away.
마음이 있습니다. 네, 제가 생각하는 그런
So that is
이야기를 전달드렸는데 조금이라도
what was on my
불편하지
mind, and I hope
않았으면 합니다.
that
감사합니다.
it did not make anyone uncomfortable.
예, 답변 잘 들었습니다.
Yes, thank you for your
답변이었고요.
response. Excellent response, by the way.
시간이 조금 남은 관계로
We have a little bit of time left over, so I think we will be able to take more questions.
현장 지금 계신
May I
분 중에
ask if
질문하실
anyone
분이
in
좀
the
있으신가요?
audience has any questions?
있으신 분?
If you do, please raise your hand.
그러면은
Okay.
질의응답하고 이제 토크 콘서트는 이번 순서로
Then
바뀌고요.
it seems that there are no questions, so we will close the question and answer question. I will hand the mic over to Mr. Ko to lead this next part in which we will be sharing our experiences. Yes, well, as members of the APCD, we did various activities and now we have been given a session. So allow me first of all to give the mic to everyone who took part so that they may share their views. So we have a order. I'd like to hand the mic first to Seok-Sumin.
Hello, I am Seok-Sumin, member of the APCD Generation MZ committee. So this session is really the highlight of all our activities. For the past 3 months, we have altogether worked towards each of our projects, and I am very happy to see the great results. And I was able to hear the outcomes of different teams other than my economy team, including the talk concert and the presentations. I was able to feel the hard work and sincerity of all the members of the committee. Since we have successfully held this session, I hope that along with other MZ sessions, I hope that the committee continues on to the second and third and sessions and beyond. Lastly, as a member of this committee, it was a great pleasure and honor to be a part of the PyeongChang Peace Forum. Thank you very much.
Next, let's hear from Park Gi-yeon. Oh, sorry. Are you joining us live?
말씀드려도 되겠습니까?
Yes, may I speak? Yes, sure.
네, 안녕하십니까?
Hello.
경제분과 청년위원 박기현입니다.
I am Park Gi-yeon. I was
현재
with the
화면을 켜지 못해서
economy
음성으로나마
team,
소감을
and I will be
전하고자
joining
합니다.
you
우리
via my
평창
voice
평화포럼
only, so I ask for your
청년위원회 활동을 하면서
understanding.
평창
During
올림픽이
the
전 세계에 보냈던
preparation
평화의
period
메시지를
and through
이번
various
기회를 통해 더욱
activities,
확장할 수 있었던
we were able to
계기가
spread the
되었던 것
message of
같습니다.
peace.
앞으로도 우리
And
평창
I hope that in the
평화포럼
future,
청년위원회가
our
전 세계의 평화를
APCD
위해
will continue to
청년의
work towards the
목소리를
peace
꾸준히 낼
of
수
the
있으면
world and continue
좋겠습니다.
to represent the
감사합니다.
voice of the youth. Thank you. Next, let's hear from Choi Ji-hye.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello,
경제팀 최지혜입니다.
I'm Choi Ji-hye. I was also with the
저는
economy
특히
team.
미래 세대에게 경제를 가르쳐야 하는 사회교육을 전공하고
I
있어서
major
이번 포럼에
in social
참여한 것
education,
자체가 저에겐
so I have a
뜻깊은
responsibility
자리였는데요.
of teaching
또한
economic
다양한
issues
분야에
to the
관심을
next
가진
generation.
많은
So it was
분들이
quite
한자리에 모여서
significant for me.
지식을 나누는
Also,
그런
it
자리에
was
참여할 수 있게
extremely
되어서 더욱더 기뻤습니다.
exciting
exciting
to be with other members to discuss these issues. I hope that we discuss various issues in the future and that this kind of opportunity will go around to many people in the future. Thank you. Next, let's hear from Oh Yu-seok.
예, 경제팀의
Yes,
오유석입니다.
once again, I'm Oh Yoo-seok from the economy team. First off, I want to share something that goes back 4 years. We had the PyeongChang Olympics. Yoon Sung-bin won the gold medal, and we also saw various episodes take place, such as a torch going out. And at that time, that is when I first heard of the PyeongChang Peace Forum, and I took part every year as a general participant. And then last May, I saw an announcement, and they were asking for people to submit and apply for this council, and so I thought that opportunity had come, and so I signed up right away. I met with many members, and although I felt that I may not be up for it, I was able to make it till the end thanks to all of my colleagues and their encouragement. I don't know how this council will do. I hope that it does well in the future, and I hope that the youth, the MZ generation, plays a more active role in peace in the future. Thank you. Next, let's hear from Chang Hee-ju.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello,
저는 장희주입니다.
I am Chang Hee-ju,
청년위원회 1기 스포츠
and I was with the
수개월
sports
활동을 했는데요.
team. I
우선
worked
이제
with the
원래
team for
현장에
several months,
참석하고자
and I
했지만
wanted to
지금
be with you
격리
in
기간으로
person, but I
참여하지
am
못한 점 되게
currently
아쉽게 생각합니다.
unable to be
그리고
with
이
you
평창
due
평화
to
포럼을
the COVID
통해서 이제
restrictions.
청년으로서 평화에
And
대해
as
앞으로 어떤 목표
a member of the
의식을
younger
가지고
generation,
더 나은
I
세상을
thought of what
만들어
kind
갈지
of purpose
탐구하는 계기가
we
되었고요.
needed to have
그리고
for the
이제
future.
위원회
It was a good
활동이 끝난
opportunity to do
후에도
that. And even
지금
after
청년의 입장에서
our
실천할 수
team
있는 평화에
activities were
관련한
over,
인식 제고 활동에
I
어떤 일들이
thought of what we
있을지
could do
관심을 갖게
to
되는
raise
굉장히
awareness
좋은
with
경험이었다고
regards to
생각합니다.
this. So it was a very good
감사합니다.
experience. Thank you.
다음으로 장준환 위원님.
And next, Mr. Chang Jun-han.
네. 코로나 상황이 조금 악화되면서
As the
가지
COVID
분야의
pandemic
팀들이 교류도
again
많았으면 좋았을 것 같고,
surged,
직접
I
현장에서
really
많은
wish that we
청년분들이
would
모여서
be able
뜨겁게
to engage in more
토론을 했었으면
heated
어땠을까?
discussions
라는
face to
생각도 좀
face
그런
all
아쉬운
together in
점도
this
있습니다. 그래도 이번
convention hall.
기회를 통해서 평화랑
But
스포츠에
this was
대해서
still a
좀
valuable
고민해보고
opportunity
논의해볼 수
to
있는
speak
자리였을
about
정말
and think about
이번
and
청년위원회가
exchange views about sports.
시작이자 끝이
This committee is not the final
참여의
committee.
기폭제가 되었으면
I hope that it will lead to more active participation and activities of youth. Of course, we had restrictions. I had my work, and to together work on this committee while juggling my work was not easy. But still, I was able to search deep into the concept of peace and how we can really bring about peace. And it was a valuable opportunity. And I'd like to thank the Secretariat and all the members of the committee for their hard work. Thank you very much.
네, 다음으로 김경민 위원님 소감 있겠습니다.
Next, Ms. Kim Kyung-min.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 청년위원회 김경민이라고
I am
합니다.
Kim Kyung-min
지금
of
개인
the
사정상
committee.
현장에 있지 못하고
Due
비대면으로
to
접속하게
personal
되었는데
reasons, I could not join you
실제로
in
현장에 가
person.
있었다면 더 많은
But if
것을
I
배울
were
수
there,
있었을
I
기회가
think
되었을
that I would
텐데
have had
좀
an
아쉬운
opportunity
마음이
to learn so
있습니다.
much more.
우선 저는 평소에 저를 포함한 다른 청년분들과 평화에 대해서
Including
이야기해볼
myself
기회가
and with
별로
all other
없었습니다.
committee members, I didn't
그런데
really
이번
have
평창 평화
an
포럼을
opportunity
통해서
to
제
exchange
스스로는
views about
평화를
peace,
어떻게
but the
생각하고
PyeongChang
그리고
Peace
또 다른
Forum
사람들은 어떻게
presented that
생각하는지
very
알 수
opportunity,
있었던
and I
기회가
was able to
되었습니다.
listen to what
많은
others
분들과
think,
평화를 비롯한 다양한 주제로
including
이야기할
peace
수
and a
있어서
number of
많은
different
것들을 배워갔던
topics.
시간이
We were able to
되었습니다.
engage in deep
감사합니다.
discussions, and I'd like to thank you for this opportunity.
다음으로 이중엽 위원님의
Next,
소감이
Mr.
있겠습니다.
Lee Jun-yeop.
안녕하세요. 청년위원회
Hello.
이중엽 위원입니다.
I am Lee Jun-yeop.
저는 사실 평화라는 거에 대해서 통일에 대해서 잘 몰랐었는데
I didn't really know much about peace or unification, but last year, through our external activities, there was the YPC and the Imagine Youth Peace Camp, where I was able to engage in discussions with non-Korean students, and I learned much about unification. But realistically, I don't think that Korea provides sufficient unification education, because just recently I was a part of the Gyeonggi Pyeonghwa or Peace School, and I was the very first, one of the very first students there.
경기도뿐만이 아니라
But not only in Gyeonggi province, but Kangwon
우리나라 전국
and
8도에 다 이런
all
평화
provinces
학교의 그
of
시스템이나 그런 게
South Korea should have these systems that provide unification education. So I hope that the government,
산학연이 그
industry, academia, and research institutes together work towards developing more education on unification. And through the activities of the committee, I was able to learn about peace and unification.
모든 분들께 감사드립니다.
And I would like to thank everyone involved. Thank you very much.
다음으로 박규미 위원님의
Park Gyumi is next.
안녕하세요. 저는 박규미입니다.
Hello, I am Park
저는
Gyumi.
평소에 평화에 대해 관심이 많아서 이번
I've
활동을
always
참여할 수
had
있어서 너무
a high level of interest in peace, and I was very happy to be a part of the committee. And I wish I could be there in person, but I still enjoyed my Zoom participation. Listening to the PyeongChang Peace Forum, my memorable moment was discussing the peace with youth committee and developing card news about the unification train and learning more about unification and peace. The activities of this committee looked into the concepts where youths are interested, and we looked into ways to gather the views of youths. So the committee does not end this year. I hope that it marks the beginning for more sessions to come. And also, going forward, I hope that the committee members will continue their activities to notify the world about peace. And in step with the pandemic measures, I hope that the upcoming peace forums and the 2024 Youth Olympics will be well held through the preparations of the committees, and I hope that this is a further opportunity to tell the world about peace and the youth idea.
다음으로 김예지
And next,
위원님의 발표가 있겠습니다.
Kim Yeji.
되어 있는 김예지입니다.
Hello, I am Kim
저는
Yeji,
청년위원회로서
part
현장에
of the DMZ
참여하지
team.
못했던 굉장히 아쉽다고
I
말씀드리고
wish I could be there in person.
우선 저희 DMZ 평화제재
The
팀에서
DMZ Peace Zone team,
어떻게 하면
Peace
DMZ
Zone
를
team
홍보할 수 있는지
thought about how
또
to
관련된
promote
홍보 방안에 대해서
DMZ
공부해보고 또 고민해보고
and
봤던
studied
뜻깊은
ways
시간이었습니다.
of PR, which was very meaningful. And I was able to look back on myself, on my own ideas of peace. And as a member of this committee, I was able to have this great experience, and thank you for that.
다음으로 서준이
Next, let's hear from 서준이.
네,
Yes.
청년위원회 위원 서준희입니다.
I am Seo once again.
저는 평화학을 공부하는 사람으로
I major in
처음으로
peace
진행된
studies,
청년위원회
and
일기로 참여하게 되다니
therefore it was really
또
an honor for me to be a member of this first council, and also to be given the opportunity to meet with and exchange with our colleagues. I'm sure that this is not the end, but we will continue to collaborate and to cooperate together in various activities. I look forward to the second and third council, and with that I'd like to conclude my remarks. Thank you.
다음으로 서인경 위원님의
Next, let's hear
소감을
from
들어보겠습니다.
서인경.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는
Hello.
현장 청년위원회 UN SDGs 팀을 맡은
I was in the
서인경입니다.
UN SDGs
먼저 저는
team. I
활동을
am
진행하면서
서인경.
포럼의 궁극적인 목표인 평화라는 키워드에 대해 성찰해볼 수
The
있는 계기가
peace,
되었습니다.
which is the keyword
특히 UN
of this
SDGs
forum,
활동이
is something that I was
포럼
able
분석과
to think
설문
of.
조사 활동을
Through our
진행하면서
surveys and our
항상 관심이
analysis,
있던 지속 가능한 개발
we
목표의
were able
중요성과
to
이래 세계
rethink the
기업은
importance of the
앞서서
UN
환경,
SDGs
경제,
and what we
인권 등에
could do in
진행되는
areas such as
문제들을
environment,
해결해야 함을 깨달았습니다.
poverty, and
앞으로 평화를
environment.
구축하는 데 있어
Also,
문제를 시도하려는 노력들에
we
동참할 것을
will
다짐하는 소중한
continue
계기가 된 것 같습니다.
to think of what we
감사합니다.
can do as we work towards peace as a member of the younger generation. Thank you.
다음으로 배윤진 위원님의
Next, let's hear from
소감이
Bae Yoon-jin.
안녕하세요.
Hello.
저는 청년위원회 배윤진입니다.
I am Bae Yoon-jin.
저는 정치외교학과
I
전공하고
am a
있는데요.
major of foreign
국제적인
diplomacy
행사를
and international
기획하고
relations,
제작하는 일을 꿈꾸고
and
있는 저에게
my dream
좋은
is
경험이
to
될 것 같아서
work
이번
as a
평창 평화 포럼에
planner
청년위원
and
활동에
manager
가게
in
되었습니다.
various
짧은
related
준비 기간이었지만 모두가
areas,
열정을
and so
갖고
that's why I applied for this. It was a
좋은
short
결과들이 나온 것 같아
term,
기쁩니다.
but we worked very hard, and so I'm very pleased to see the good outcomes. I hope that our voices and our outcomes will be reflected in future dialogue so that other youth will sign up and take part in these activities. Because we are the first council, I think that establishing our identity was challenging, but as our experience becomes more and more, I hope that we will become to create a firmer identity. And this opportunity allowed me to look back on what we did, because our council was first launched to encourage more younger people to take part. And it was a good opportunity for me to see just how much work people have to put in. I was able to look into how such programs and projects are managed also. So thank you for that opportunity.
다음으로 박종환
Next,
위원의
let's listen
소감이 있겠습니다.
to what Park Jun-han has to say.
안녕하세요. 청년위원회
Hello.
위원 박종원입니다.
I'm Park Jong-won.
UN SDGs를 주제로 활동하면서
I was working on the UN SDG team, and we thought of physical violence and also structural violences such as laws and wars, and also cultural violence as well, and how these are part of a passive peace. But there is also a more active peace which allows people to flourish. Professor Johan Galtung of Oslo University, who is a leading academic in peace studies, says that peace is something that needs to be continuously pursued, and that it is a process rather than an end point. As a member of the younger generation and also a global citizen, I was able to reaffirm my dedication to become a maker of peace. It was personally a great honor for me to take part in this process. Thank you very much.
다음으로 김용대 위원님.
Next, Mr. Kim Yong-dae.
평창 평화 포럼 청년위원회 UN SDGs 소속
I
김용대입니다.
am from the UN SDGs team, Kim Yong-dae, and during the activities I was nervous and also
이번 활동을
excited.
진행하면서 가장 많이
And
느꼈던 부분은 평화 관련된
what I felt most
다양한
was
의견들을 들을 수 있어서 너무나도
that it was a great opportunity and experience to listen to different views about peace. And I'm not sure how the committee will continue its activities going forward, but I hope that youths interested in peace will join the committee to add on different stories onto the stories we've created. Thank you.
다음으로 김수민님의 소감이
Next,
있겠습니다.
Kim Soo-min.
청년위원회 김수민.
Hello, I'm Kim Soo-min from
평창 평화 포럼에 청년위원회라는 이름으로
committee.
참가할 수 있어서
And it was an honor to be a part of the MZ committee and to study and discuss the peace, an abstract concept that I've only vaguely thought of. It was a great experience. As Art Inslee has said during the opening ceremony, we cannot take peace for granted.
활동하신 팀원분들 그리고
This could not be more true. I'd like to thank all my fellow committee members and all the audience, and also the foundation and secretariat for your support. Thank you very much.
다음으로 이민호 의원님의 소감이
Lee Min-ho is
있겠습니다.
next.
네, 반갑습니다.
Hello.
팀 이민호 의원입니다.
I am from the Peace Public Diplomacy Team.
포럼에 이 자리에 함께 해주신 관계자분들한테 감사
I
인사를
would first
드리고요.
like to thank everyone
사실
at the PyeongChang Peace Forum.
관련된 이제 정치적인 분야에 20대들
in
관심이 굉장히
political arenas about peace, I believe that the interest of youths were very low, but I was able to see that there's actually an enormous amount of interest among those in their 20s about this topic, which was quite surprising. And I want to really particularly thank the Secretariat, and also not only on peace but in different topics. It was a great experience to learn more about various topics, and I hope that more sessions of this committee will come. I think that we have started off on a good note, and the committee will further grow. Thank you.
다음으로 하심 칸님의
Next, Mr. Hashim Khan.
Thank you. 안녕하세요, everyone. I am Hashim Khan from Pakistan. I'm also APC team member. So the best thing, first of all, I want to say congratulations to PyeongChang Peace Forum Administration. They are holding this event precautionary in this pandemic situation. And secondly, obviously I am also part of youth and peace. So I believe this youth, this generation, is a bridge between previous generation and next generation. If we learn how to maintain the peace in this all conflicts around the world, so I believe PyeongChang is not for North Korea or South Korea. It's a global platform. It's a global platform for peace. So I want to say best of luck for my all team members, PyeongChang, and the next Youth Olympic Winter Games. So 만나서 반갑습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
다음으로 간민석
Next, let's hear from Kan Min-seo. Hello, I'm Kan Mi-seo, and through our activities, I was able to think about the significance of peace and public diplomacy, and also I will continue my efforts to make sure that we have continued interest in peace in the future. Thank you.
어떻게 하다 보니까 제가
Well, in the end, I am the moderator,
짠 것처럼 제가 마지막으로 하게
but it turns out that I will have to wrap up. It's almost like we agreed upon this. But anyway, let me end by wrapping up and sharing my opinions. I am Kuzong, as was introduced. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our members, particularly Ms. Seo Jun-hee next to me, who is the chair, especially the vice chairs, and also the leaders of all of the separate teams. Thank you for your work. Also, members of the organizing committee and staff. We were unable to meet face-to-face, and so holding meetings and creating something without having to meet was very challenging. But because of the unwavering support from various people, we were able to do this and able to ultimately come here and speak about peace and youth. There were, of course, some finger pointing, I have to say, and also some discord. But we were able to overcome all of that and move forward in a peaceful manner nonetheless. Also, we don't know if our committee will end here or if there will be a second round or a third round. Personally, I don't know how we will move forward, but I am sure that there is a possibility of it happening. And there is a saying in Chinese that is that the water of a river pushes out the old water. and makes way for new water to come in. That is to say that based on our efforts, our experiences and outcomes, I'm sure that this will be a foundation for the incoming teams and incoming committees to do better in the future. So I thank all of you for everything. Thank you all for your great work. Thank you.
예, 그 청년들의 또 열정이 느껴지는
We
소감이었고요.
were able to feel the passion of our youth members,
또 질문을 또 들어온 게
and
있습니다.
we have one final question.
예.
안녕하세요.
Hello.
질문은 핵을 포기하고 서방의
Giving
안보를
up the nuclear weapons, and Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons and wanted to rely on the West for its national security, but is now invaded by Russia, as you can see from the news reports. This international geopolitical situation may push North Korea to further be obsessed with their nuclear program. In your view, given the current situation and for the DPRK to give up its nuclear weapons and for us to resolve the situation peacefully, is there really a way to make it happen? And if so, how? I think that this relates to a peace public policy team. Anyone want to take the question? Yes, I'd like to answer the question. And this is just off the bat, so I'm not sure if it'll be sufficient to answer your question, but just speaking personally, having nuclear weapons for North Korea, I don't think the intent is to really wage a new war. I think it's more about wielding more influence in the global stage.
저희가 뭐 협정이나 이런 걸 통해서 외부에서 핵을 포기하게 만드는 데는 저는
I think that there's a limit to making the DPRK give up its nuclear weapons program through signing treaties or other external ways will be quite limited. We have listened to cooperation and DPRK session, and the speaker said that if political efforts does not work, then we can look towards cultural or climate cooperations with the DPRK. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. And if I may add, I think the nuclear issue, as we all know, will not be resolved overnight. The Ukraine-Russian situation is slightly different from the North Korean nuclear issue. There are slightly different nuances to the geopolitical situation. And for North Korea to give up its nuclear program, well, if you look at President Trump, he looked at the top-down pressure. But I think President Biden has a different approach. But we don't see any very efficient way out. The current and past government of Korea also take on different lines towards North Korea, but neither really reached a resolution to the nuclear issue. I think the most urgent issue is probably for North Korea to have someone different come into power, but this is really not very realistic. And personally, I hope that North Korean people will oppose nuclear weapons and sincerely hope for peace. And in that way, I think that the North Korean regime will not be able to make such unilateral decisions, as is the experience with South Korea. And how can we induce change among North Korean people? Well, there can be economic and humanitarian support and many different ways. And we need to look into those ways. Yes, Ms. Sojuni? Yes, just on a personal note, this may sound very idealistic, but why does North Korea want nuclear weapons? What do they want, or what is their true position? I think we need to engage in further communications to address these questions. We need to revitalize our relations. North Korea has the same people in power, but in the US and Korea, we have different people coming into power, and depending on the leader, the policy keeps changing. But for North Korea's perspective, policy towards them keeps changing. So I think that building trust is most important. North Korea need to be able to trust others and be able to frankly disclose its own position. And if that can happen, I think we will have a better world and a more peaceful Korean peninsula. And I also personally wish that we will not look at the nuclear program too politically, because the lives of North Korean people is much more precarious than we think for a number of different reasons. Their lives, many of them are confined to the political camps and so forth. So if we only take a political view towards North Korean nuclear program, we will disregard the lives of ordinary North Korean people. We need to look at the people, and I hope that decision makers will put more consideration to the lives of ordinary North Koreans, rather than distorting or exaggerating the position of North Korea. And I hope that we will have more opportunities to engage in frank discussions. Thank you very much.
답변 해주세요.
Yes, please. Hello, I am Yoo Jin-young from the DMZ Peace Zone team. I visited the Canadian Embassy in Korea. They discussed, had a seminar on the topic of the women leaders in DPRK, and the French Embassy also held an education program on unification. Then what about Korean diplomatic establishments overseas, such as the embassy in the US? Do we offer similar programs for non-Koreans through seminars, forums, and other opportunities? That's my question. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Yes, so we may have similar programs, we may have differences, but we need to take into consideration all this into creating healthy and good policies. Any other questions? Yes?
Yes, I am a graduate student studying international relations. Now, President Moon proposed the end of war declaration in time with the Winter Olympics, and there was also a boycott of the Olympics as well from North Korea. But this time around, the Western countries tried to boycott this Olympic, but there was no punitive action against them. So we are in the middle of this power game, and I want to ask you what position Korea should take within this power struggle. Is there anyone that wants to respond to that? Well, if I may, as you said, the Moon administration wanted peace diplomacy through an end-of-war declaration, and ultimately it seems that it has not been or will not be realized. And you know the Korean expression of how a shrimp is stuck between two large whales. This is the situation that Korea is in. Even in history, between the wars between the Qing dynasty and Japan, Korea went through a lot of hardship, and international diplomacy is also like that kind of hegemony. I personally believe that a balance of power is important, because there is no country that is an eternal enemy or an eternal ally. Everything can change within this kind of an international dynamic. So I think that rather than swaying here and there. I think we need to be more practical in our diplomatic relations and be as try as possible, and also being sure to our principles, such as the basic principles of human rights, for instance. Ms. Hall, would you like to respond? Yes, well, I would like to respond and then close at the same time. Thank you for the question.
And I just wanted to add that end of war declaration has not come out yet. And of course, we are going into 70 years since the truce, and it may reach 100 years, hope not, but that's the reality, and I wish more people would take interest in this matter. And we have now reached the end of the session from December to February. We have worked very hard to prepare this very session. I'd like to thank all the members of the committee for your hard work. And while preventing this event, I would like to thank the Secretariat for engaging in discussions and preparing with us. Next year, we will have another PyeongChang Peace Forum and MZ Committee session. I ask you for your continued support. I'd like to thank all online and offline participants for joining us. Thank you very much.